So, copy editing and proofreading, what's the difference? Well, the first thing to understand is that if you're talking about traditional publishing process, proofreading and copy editing are two separate stages that come at different points in the process. The copy edit happens first, once the author has finished their writing and has done as much as they can do and they're happy with it. It gets handed over to the copy editor. Now, the copy editor acts as a fresh pair of eyes and they impose consistency on the writing. So they'll look at things like sentence level, the structure and flow of the sentences to make sure that they're not all short or not too long. So they may do a little bit of reordering and restructuring to improve the flow and give it variety and rhythm. They also make sure that there is consistency in the writing. They will make sure that if you have a style sheet, that has been used properly. So things like capitalisation, hyphenation, spelling, word choices, all of these are consistent and adhered to throughout your writing. They'll also look out for things like misspelled words, double words, and errors in things like copying and pasting. When you as the author have reorganised your writing, you may have copied chunks of sentences or paragraphs rather than cutting and pasting, which can involve creating duplicate sentences or even paragraphs. And when you've looked at something so often, you see what you want to see, and these things are easy to gloss over as the writer. The editor will come in and see that and sort it all out and smooth the path. Now, the thing is, the important thing to remember is that a sensitive editor doesn't cut the life out of your writing. They impose consistency, but they don't make it dull and bland. Well, at least they shouldn't do. Your voice should still be there. It should still sound like it was written by you. They also might look in a longer book at things like headings, subheadings, chapter titles. They'll prepare these sort of things for the typesetting and layout so that the typesetter knows exactly how to set each of these things, where all the chapter headings are, what all the headers and footers are, internal cross-references, if there's a bibliography or references, that they're all styled correctly. So basically imposing order and consistency on it and setting it up so that when the designer or typesetter comes to put it into their programme, everything's ready and moves slowly and smoothly. And when does the copy editing happen? This generally happens before your book is laid out or designed by the typesetter. This is often usually done in Word. Please don't ask for a copy edit in a PDF form because that is just far more complicated. Lots of editors won't do that for you. They'll ask for the Word file. So make sure you know at what point in the process this happens. Get your editing done in Word. Proofreading is the final stage before you hit publish. It is the very last set of eyes on your writing. The proofreader is the gatekeeper before things go live. And as such, it's their job to make sure that everything is as perfect as it can be. So they will look for any errors or omissions that were missed at the copy editing stage. And they will also look for things that may have been introduced in error in the design and layout process, which can sometimes happen. They'll make sure that the grammar, spelling and punctuation is absolutely A1, and that any style guide or style sheets that have been used by the copy editor have all been adhered to correctly all the way through. So they are the last pair of eyes before things go live. But what if you need a bit more than that or a bit less than that? You're not really sure what you want. Is a proof edit a thing? Well, it is. Nowadays, with so many people producing outside of the traditional publishing process, it's very common for the lines between proofreading and copy editing to get a bit blurred. And proof editing is becoming a much more recognised term. And a proof edit is a bit less than a copy edit, a bit more than a proofread. It's basically an individualised service tailored to your needs. And it might be that you don't have the resources to do multiple passes of separate copy editing and proofreading. You can only afford one go and you want that to be right. Or it might be that you've got a transcription from a video that you've done and you want to turn it into a blog post. and all the bones of it are there, even though the transcription service has maybe taken out all the ums and the ers. It still doesn't necessarily read well as a blog, although as a video it was perfectly fine. When we talk, we tend to repeat ourselves, we don't always adhere to perfect grammar, and a proof edit can help to smooth that out and make it fit for purpose as a blog to be read rather than just a literal transcription of your video recording. So the key thing here is to have the conversation with your editor about what your needs are and what exactly you're looking for from them. And in this situation, it can be helpful for both parties if the editor does a short sample edit so that you can see what sort of intervention they're talking about and if it's a good fit for you. I mean, basically, communication is the most important thing. The last thing you want is to hand over your precious work for what you think is going to be a light prune and it comes back absolutely cut to the bone. An editor can do as much or as little intervention as you need, but it's really important that you have that conversation to understand what that is. Basically, we can use a chainsaw or a scalpel. The choice is yours, but we need to know what it is you want. I hope that's been useful for you and you understand a little bit more about the difference between copy editing and proofreading, and indeed what a proof edit is. If you want to hear more about helping you to make the best of your writing, hit that subscribe button and join me in more videos to help take the worry out of your writing.